be seated. Before I give you some instruction, we're going to watch a brief video. When this video concludes, my dear friend Rod Hanley is going to present our message today. When he walks to the stage, will you give him a welcome from Wellspring? Please turn your attention to the screen. Let's watch that.
The Christian life is not a playground, it's a battleground. So today, I will give no place to fear or failure. I will not accept a trace of apathy in my attitude or actions. I will reject complacency and embrace the greatness that God has planted inside of me. I will waste no opportunity to glorify God and maximize everything He has entrusted to me. I will fight. My battle is not against flesh and blood, but against a spiritual enemy who opposes me. So I will draw the battle lines and face my enemy with a bold determination. My enemy fights against me because he fears me. Every time I resist him, he must flee. And every time he reminds me of my past, I will remind him of his future. I will make no excuses, but through every obstacle I will find a way. I will not procrastinate my progress. I will not defer my destiny. I will not waver when I'm weak. I will not cower when my circumstances take a turn for the worse. Because greater is He that is in me than he that is in the world. I will fight. Even if I lose the battle, I will win the war, because I am more than a conqueror through Him who loves me. I will reject the lies that echo in my mind, telling me that I don't have what it takes, that my best is behind me, or that humiliation awaits me. The devil is a liar, and my God always causes me to triumph. Through Jesus Christ, my Lord, I will fight. I'm unashamed to represent a kingdom that is unshakable. No one will be able to stand against God's plan for me all the days of my life. With my God, I will advance against every troop. With His help, I will scale every wall. Though my enemies surround me, my God surrounds my enemies. Though they may come at me one way, they will flee 7 ways. Because no weapon formed against me will prosper. And every evil thing that rises against me, I will condemn, I will fight. My heart is steadfast. My purpose is immovable. I am always abounding in the work of the Lord. And my potential is unlimited because the limitless God lives within me. I will fight. The cross is before me. The world is behind me. I'll never turn back. I'll never give up. I'll never settle. I'll never stop short. I will press toward the mark for the prize that is already mine. For I am persuaded that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, nor powers, nor things present, nor things to come, neither height, nor depth, nor anything else in all creation shall be able to separate me from my God. And if my God is for me, who can be against me? I will fight.
That is a powerful video that actually Pastor Dave got for me. And I think it just fits really well with what I want to share today. It is a privilege to be with you today. And Chris and I have about 35 years of history together, working with Fellowship Christian Athletes. And now with him in his role as a spring training chaplain for the Royals. I have a history of doing that as well, actually back in Kansas City over the last number of years. So it's just terrific to be here today. And what I want to share today really ties so well with that video. And I'll give you kind of the end of the story first here, but we're going to backtrack. But God took me through something about 15 months ago, a stage 4 cancer situation. And some of the imagery, some of the verses that you just heard there is where I really want to land today. So that's a little sneak peek. We're going to do some other things in the Word of God, and I'm going to close with that story. But when I think about that, this verse that we put in your notes really does apply, and that's where I want to start today. And you know, there's times where the odds look like they're against you, like there's no hope, like there's, you know, you're not going to make it, and you know, God is the God of the underdog. He gives hope to the hopeless. He gives, when things look at its bleakest, when things look impossible, that's when God steps up and makes something super possible. And that's what this verse from Habakkuk is referring to. Look what it says, though the victory does not bud, and though there's no grapes on the vines, and though the olive crop fails, and the fields produce no food, though there are no sheep in the pen, no cattle in the stalls. I mean, this is a bleak situation. Look what it ends with. Yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will be joyful in God, my Savior. And that's what God does. When things look like there's no hope, there's no way that we're going to get out of this, that's when God steps into a situation and says, watch what I'm going to do. Watch the work I'm going to do. And that's where he excels and really does miraculous things. So today, what I want to do is look at a very familiar story in the Scriptures, a story that you're probably very familiar with, from 1 Samuel 17. It's a story of David and Goliath. And I'm going to walk us through just some things that were going on in that story to remind us, and then I'm going to close with telling you about what God did in my life personally. Of course, in this story, we see a young teenager, probably 14 to 15 years old, that shows up for the fight of his life. Not realizing he was going to be, in front and center of this epic battle that's about to take place. And he doesn't have superhuman strength, but he has a superhuman God, a God that excels, like I say, in doing the impossible. And he knew that God was going to perform something great that day. You remember in this chapter, God's people being ridiculed or being mocked by this Philistine army. The leader is this guy named Goliath. And he's the biggest and baddest guy around. And he's the one that's there. He's making fun of the Israelites. He's making fun of their God. The Israelites had a choice. Are they going to let this guy continue to mock them? Or is someone going to emerge? Is someone going to emerge and try to save the nation that day? David, he chose not to sit there. He chose to step out and do something pretty remarkable. From your notes, you see this, and this is through your fill-ins. It says, every test in our life either makes us better or better. Every test makes us better or better. But every problem comes to break us or to make us. The choice is ours whether we become a victim or a victor. And that really then choice comes down to how are we going to respond when these crises occur? How are we going to respond when we're put in a situation where it looks like there's no way out? What are we going to do? And here's what I believe. I believe that God takes every test and can turn it into a testimony. I think he can take a mess and turn it into a message. I think he can take our anxiousness and turn it into his peace. That's what God does. That's what he does every single time. And so God worked in a miraculous way. And David believed three things, I think, that made him successful in this particular journey. The first thing we see, truth number one, is that there's no enemy too strong. There is no enemy too strong. Compared to the power of God, guess what? There's no enemy too strong. If you look at this passage from 1 Samuel 17, verses 4 through 7, it reads this way. A champion named Goliath, who was from Gath, came out of the Philistine camp. His height was 6 cubits and a span. And if you need to know what that entails, basically this guy was over 9 feet tall. This is a massive, massive human being. It says he had a bronze helmet on his head. He wore a coat of scale of armor of bronze weighing 5,000 shekels. And just so you know a point of reference, that's about 125 pounds of armor that was on his body. It says on his legs he wore bronze greaves. A bronze javelin was slung on his back. His spear shaft was like a weaver's rod, and its iron point weighed 600 shekels. So the point of that spear was about 15 pounds. Massive man, a ton of armor, and this spear with a 15-pound thing on the end of it. And I mean, he was poised to do serious harm to anybody that would get in front of him. It's quite an enemy, quite imposing. This is just a mammoth guy. And it's safe to say that the odds were stacked against not only the entire Israel army, but against anybody that would come before him. And here's what Goliath kept doing. Every single day he'd come in front of the army, and he would taunt them, he would mock them, he'd ridicule them. And then he'd say something to this effect. Hey, you send your best guy. And I'll go one-on-one with that guy. And if your guy wins, our army will serve you. And if I win, your army will serve me. And so he was really trying to save maybe a lot of blood loss and saying, you just pick your best guy. And this went on, folks, for 40 consecutive days. And nobody in the Israel army was interested in taking on this mammoth guy. And so they just kept hearing it over and over and over again, 40 straight days. And then here's what happened. David shows up. And he actually had been, back home, and he was bringing lunch, a sandwich lunch to his brothers who were part of this army. 3 brothers were there, and he showed up, and he's seeing this guy just ridiculing and taunting and mocking, and David was stirred. He was stirred. He knew something that the rest of the army had forgotten. You see, David had faith. He didn't have fear. The Israel army had fear. They didn't have faith. And David knew that. And folks, whatever we're in the midst of, whatever challenge we're in the midst of, we need to learn a lesson from David that fear has to win over, that faith has to win over fear. And really, we have a choice. Are we going to let fear win or are we going to let faith win? And David was a guy who had faith. He had faith. I realize as I'm teaching this lesson today that there's some of you that are in the midst of crisis yourself. Maybe it's an addiction that rears its ugly head. Maybe it's in your marriage you feel more like a roommate than husband and wife. Maybe it's depression that seems to control you. And even though you've said, I'm going to get over this, that really heavy spirit just attacks at all kinds of different times. Maybe it's loneliness. Maybe you've lost a family member. There's somebody not at the dinner table that used to sit there. And it's a terribly, terribly lonely time. Maybe it's a ring finger that remains empty. Maybe it's a financial debt that is suffocating you. Maybe it's news that you or a loved one is in the midst of a very serious medical condition. I realize today that maybe you can relate and identify with one of those. There's something that literally can paralyze you. But I want you to remember this truth. Did you think about this statement that there's no giant in front of you that's bigger than the God that's inside you? That you and God are majority. And you and God are on the winning team, and He does want to take that test and turn it into a testimony. He wants to take that test and turn it into a message. He wants to create a storyline because there's no giant too big. There's no enemy too strong. The second thing we need to know as you think about this lesson is that there's no weapon too weak. There is absolutely no weapon too weak. And you know what God specializes in? He specializes in taking very weak things and manifesting Himself above whatever that situation is. Remember, David is young. He's weak. He's 14, 15 years old. This guy's a 9-foot giant. But David was going to choose a weapon that probably did not look like it was going to be the winning formula. In fact, that there was Vegas odds going on about what was about to take place the next few minutes. I'm sure no one would have gave David a chance. He was going to show up, with a sling and 5 stones. That doesn't look very good, But David was convinced that the God inside of him was bigger than the obstacle in front of him. And so in 1 Samuel 17:26, he asks the men standing around him, he says, Who is this uncircumcised Philistine, that he should defy the armies of the living God? What gives this guy the right to talk about my God? What gives this guy the right? You see, David didn't feel like he could let this man make fun of his God. And so he was ready to fight. And what's ironic about this story is Israel had a giant that was the king. His name was King Saul. He stood a foot over the rest of Israel. He should have been the one to step up, not on day 40, but on day 1. He should have been the guy, and yet he is just cowering. He is not being a king. He's not being a leader. And so when word comes to King Saul that there's a guy that just showed up with a sack lunch ready to take on this giant, Saul was very eager to, well, here's my armor. You can, and he tried to initially, you remember the story, he tried to put his armor on David, and it didn't fit David. In fact, David said, you know, hey, I've killed a lion before, I've killed a bear. I know what I'm doing. I got this sling, I got 5 stones. By the way, the rumor has it, and this is unverified because we don't know the full backstory. Some would say, well, why did he have 5 stones? Well, rumor had that Goliath had 4 brothers. So he wanted to make sure they know it. I don't know if that's true or not, but, you know, he was going to, you know, and maybe he didn't want to act, you know, overconfident. And maybe he thought, maybe I'll be able to, I mean, here's the reality. He only needed 1 stone, right? He only needed 1, but he took 5 that day. And he said this, well, here's what happened. As Goliath now knows that somebody's going to fight. This little shepherd boy, 14 or 15-year-old kid, begins to walk toward him. And the Philistine giant, he was hacked up. I mean, he was really, really hacked off. He was insulted. He didn't see this as going to be a fight. He saw this as going to be a slaughter. And he was put off that David was walking toward him. So here's what we read from verse 43. He said to David, am I a dog that you come to me with sticks? And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. He said, come here, and I'll give your flesh to the birds and the wild animals. But David said to the Philistine, you come with me with a sword and the spear and the javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord, God Almighty, the armies of Israel who you defied. And this day the Lord will deliver you into my hands, and I will strike you down, and I will cut off your head. This very day I will give the carcasses of the Philistine army to the birds and the wild animals, and the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel. All those who gather here will know that it's not by sword or spear that the Lord saves, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you all into our hands. Now that's a pretty bold statement by a little shepherd boy, isn't it? I mean, the giant, the Goliath, he's insulted and hacked off and spewing venom. And David's saying, hey, I'll take that venom, and guess what? I've got the God of Israel behind me. And we're gonna do business today in this field. David shouted, I'm going to lead you to the birds. And here's what happens. He advanced in full armor towards David. You know what David did? David was advancing too. David wasn't cowering, he wasn't looking around, wasn't going, you know, hey, what have I got myself into? David was advancing. And so these guys are both advancing. And you might remember, and he grabbed that sling, he put a rock in it, and he started spinning it around. And as Goliath got closer and closer, all of a sudden he fired one of those small projectiles, and it hit Goliath right in his and boom, he's down. He is down for the count. Lodged right there. The teenager rushed towards him, and just what he said he did, he took Goliath's sword and he chopped his head off. Wow, what a, of course now the Philistine army is abandoned. And they start running, and of course now the Israelites, they are energized, and they see the enemy on the run, and guess what? They won the battle. What will look so weak, this weapon that looks so weak, that weapon was exactly the weapon needed to defeat this enemy. You know, I'm reminded as I think about this, no weapon too weak, that we have incredible weapons that we've been given, right? That we've been entrusted with. One of the greatest weapons we've been given is simple prayer. Prayer. And you know, and on the surface you think, well, what can prayer do? What can prayer accomplish? And yet prayer can make the winning difference in so many situations. I've seen in my life, I can give testimony to that. And you know, 2 Thessalonians 3:3 says, but the Lord is faithful, he will strengthen you, he will protect you. He will help you in your time of need. And that's exactly what God does. He steps in and he uses these things that we think can't win about. Prayer or the Word of God or the assembly together of belief. We think, how can those things accomplish anything? And yet that's exactly what the Lord does. The Lord does. We know this. No enemy is too strong and there's no weapon too weak. But here's the third truth that we see in this story. There's no battle too big. There is no battle too big. That last verse from 1 Samuel 17 that I read earlier, verse 47, let me read it again. It says, all those who gather here will know that it is not by sword or spear that the Lord saves, for the battle is the Lord's. And he will give all of you into our hands. Here's what David's saying. This battle's not mine. This battle is not the Israelites. This battle belongs to God Almighty. And I'm going to give God this battle. And I'm going to give him every single bit of the glory that's associated with what God is exactly going to do. He's saying, I'm not the one that's going to make a difference here. And that's what happens. The Lord takes anybody that's willing, who wants to be used, and say, you know what, I'm going to do something that's going to defy the odds. You see, on paper, it didn't sound like the Israelites had a chance. It didn't sound like they had a chance. Goliath's too strong, David's too weak, the battle's too big, the odds are too bad, the chances are too low. I mean, that's exactly where God can step in and do something remarkable, and that's exactly what happened here. God stepped into the situation, and we see this reminder that there's no battle too big. You know, I'm reminded what it says, it tells us in 2 Corinthians 12:9, that my power is made perfect in your weakness. And again, that's where God excels. You know, I think that some of us tend to think, you know, and this is the human side of us speaking, man, but God, my battle's too big. And those odds are overwhelming, and maybe we say my prodigal is too lost, or my diagnosis is too bleak, or my workplace is too worldly, or my schedule is too overwhelming, or my sin is too great. But David reminds us in the story that when faith enters the equation, God can do something utterly remarkable. Because why? Well, there's no enemy too strong, there's no weapon too weak, and there's no battle too big. You might be saying, right, that was biblical times. I mean, those are Bible stories that almost sound unbelievable, and maybe that doesn't apply to my situation. I don't know if God can come through the way he came through there, but I want to tell you something. I'm convinced in my mind that God is doing all kinds of stuff. And the question is, do we have the eyes to see and the ears to hear when God performs something? You see, I'm on a crusade. And I didn't tell you, I hope you'll join this crusade with me. I'm in this crusade to eliminate the words, you're lucky. Or what a coincidence. Or man, I believe that there's a God in heaven who is orchestrating events and putting things together. And if we simply had the eyes to see and understand that God is doing things that we couldn't imagine. You see, there's one word that I don't believe is in God's vocabulary. I don't believe he has the word oops in his vocabulary. Oops, I didn't think that was going to happen. Oh, I wonder what I'm going to do. I mean, gosh, so-and-so, they're in the middle of this test. Oops, didn't plan on that one. I believe that we have a sovereign God that wants to do things and is actively doing things, even right now. But we miss them. We miss this eternal story that he's writing. We miss things that are behind the scene that God is wanting to do, that God's wanting to give testimony. And when these, quote, miracles occur, we lose language like, wow, you're so lucky, or what a coincidence, or good fortune has smiled upon you. We minimize God when we use that kind of language. Because God is screaming, shouting, I've got a plan, I've got a purpose, I'm going to do something that's remarkable. Nehemiah 8:10 reminds me, do not grieve, for the joy of the Lord is your strength. He's doing something. And so here's the background of my story. 6 years ago, I had my gallbladder removed. And if you've ever experienced kidney stone or gallstones, you know that's the guy's version of women have a baby. I mean, it's a bad, it's a lot of pain. It's like, get that thing out of me. And when they removed my gallbladder, all this pain went away. Now, what's interesting, when they did the ultrasound, the gal came in, and I guess when they do the ultrasound, they'll find 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, a dozen stones, something. But I remember what the gal said. She said, oh my goodness, you have so many gallstones that I can't even count them all. And I'm a numbers guy, stat guy. Chris can tell you that's kind of how I made my living with FCA, keeping track of things and trying to organize things. And so I said, well, quantify that. What numbers are you talking about? She goes, you have millions of gallstones. The microscopic, I can't even count one. You're the new world record holder of gallstones. I'm like, I always want to get a record holder or something. And I thought, it's my claim to fame. And so anyway, when they took it out, I mean, I felt so much better for about 3.5 years. And then all of a sudden, about 3 years ago, I started getting the same kind of attacks. And I went to my primary doctor, and he says, you know, again, you're the world record holder also. Maybe some of those are still down there doing their business. And he says, you know, there's a very expensive procedure that we could do to go look for these things. And again, I'm a numbers guy. It just was way off my budget. I said, well, you know, I'll put up with these little attacks on the curve. And I kept having these attacks. In fact, I had 8 of them. I was documenting when they happened. They'd happen random times. 8 different attacks over, and I had to be sick from anywhere from 12 to 48 hours. And then no flu, no fever, but I just had these attacks. And so I just said, well, this is good. Let's go and have to live with the rest of my life, I guess. And then in the summer of 2016, I took a team of 8 on a mission trip to Haiti. And 2 of the people on that team were my 2 boys, Derek, and 2 of my boys, Derek and Jake. And on the very last day of our mission trip, one of the little orphan girls was terribly sick, and my son Derek has got such a tender, compassionate heart. He said to our team, hey, if anybody's going to get sick from this little girl, it'll be me, so I'm going to take care of her all day. And literally with one hand working, the other hand arm, he's holding this little girl the entire day. And the next day we got on the plane, and on the plane ride back into Kansas City, Derek got very, very sick. So sick that the next day we took him to the ER. They initially thought he had the Zika virus that was kind of prevalent, or the fears, and they were diagnosing, but ultimately they found out that my son had meningitis from this trip. And was hospitalized for almost 2 weeks. He was hospitalized. Well, if you've ever been in the hospital that long and those kind of testing, you know the deductible gets met. And ours got met. The full thing got met. And my primary doctor reached out to me a week after Bear got out of the hospital. He says, hey, Rod, that expensive procedure, look for those gallstones, is free for the next few months if you go in and get this looked at. I said, I went free. I like that. Let's go for it. And so I went in to the doctor, and we scheduled an October 6th procedure to go look for these gallstones. And long story short, they didn't find a single gallstone. But in the search of going down and looking for this, they found an 1.5-inch lesion sitting on my adrenal gland. And they took a biopsy, just wondering, what in the world was that? It looked good. And 6 days later, I'm in California on a speaking trip, and 6 days later, they called me up and says, Mr. Handley, you have a very rare form of cancer called a neuroendocrine tumor. In fact, it's known as a dead man walking cancer. There's no signs or symptoms you have cancer in your body, but it's already stage 4, and we don't know how long you have to live. You need to get back to Kansas City right away, because we're not even sure you're going to live until when your flight gets back. That's how quick, when this is diagnosed, death is imminent. And we don't know how long you have to live. And that was on a Wednesday. I needed to finish the speaking engagement on Thursday, and I flew back to Kansas City, and Friday morning, 8 a.m., I was in the hospital to begin a series of tests. Body scans, ultrasound, blood work, urine work. And anyway, they confirmed through all these tests that not only was it in my adrenal gland, it was also in my liver. They did another biopsy kind of there. And then they began a series of procedures because again, they didn't know how long you have to live because of how advanced it was. And they also knew it didn't exist just in those 2 parts. It doesn't originate there. It originates somewhere else. And so there was multiple scans, multiple things going on, crazy stuff happening. And through a series of, and again, I say this word loosely, coincidences? No, God was way beyond coincidence. He was putting together the pieces of the puzzle for me to have a full surgery to remove this cancer on December 29th. Only less than 2 months from my diagnosis date, I'm now having the surgery. And it was scheduled for 510 minutes. If you want to do the math, it's 8.5 hours. And what they simply did in this surgery was they would go to the spots they knew, and then they would, I hate to be so graphic here, but they would take out my entire, basically my guts, put it in a bucket, and go through everything to find out where they could find the origination spot. And they found it buried deep in my small bowel, 3 different tumors in a 10-inch section. So they resected my small bowel, and ultimately they found 8 tumors, 4 different body parts, zipped me up, put 21 staples in me in about a 10-inch section, and declared me the instant I got out of there cancer-free. You're cancer-free. There's no chemo. There's no radiation. We got accepted and God. But here's what God wanted to do. And I tell you, He's a God of miracles. And He is, because of what He decided to do. Remember I told you that when I was in California speaking, on that trip I began to invite people to pray. You know, again, this really weak weapon that we have at our disposal, right? You know, and I began to invite people to pray. And here's what only God could have done. On my layover in San Diego, one of my dear friends who your pastor Chris knows very well, Mike Sweeney, who's one of the world's Hall of Fame players, he has his off-season home in San Diego. When I landed in the airport in San Diego, I realized, hey, Mike lives here. I'm going to just shoot him a quick text and see if I can alert him to begin to pray. Because I knew his father was going through a cancer battle almost simultaneously, that now I was in the fight of my life as well. And so I texted Mike real quickly and says, hey, Mike, I just landed in San Diego. Are you home today? I'd love to give you a call. And as quickly as I sent out this text, he said to me, what airline are you flying on? And I said, I'm flying to Southwest. And then he asked this question, so what gate are you at? And I said, I don't even know. I'm still on the plane. I haven't even gotten on board. He goes, right, I just landed on a flight from Phoenix. I will meet you at your gate. Whatever you need to tell me on the phone, we'll just talk face to face. And so I walked out of my gate, or I walked out of my plane to the gate, and Santa Cruz was Mike. And he said, Ryan, what's up? And I said, Mike, I know you're going through a cancer fight with your dad. And I said, I'm in that same fight. All I know is I have a stage 4 thing called a Durek degree tumor. I don't know anything else about it. We can pray. Mike began to just cry. And he actually apologized. Ryan, I'm sorry I'm not strong for you right now. I said, Mike, the tears don't matter. What matters is our prayer. And we began to pray. We began to pray right then that God would orchestrate a plan, that He would give me peace, that this test would turn into a testimony, that He would do something remarkable. That only He could do. So, long story short, there's a lot of details I'm leaving out here, but they took out all these 8 tumors. In 3 weeks after it's all done, I met with my oncologist to go through the pathology report. And I'll never forget what happened. He walked into the room, he looked at his screen, he looked at the ceiling, he looked at the floor, and then he said these words. He says, so what miracle do you want to talk about first? I said, well, there's been a lot of them. He goes, how did you get this thing scheduled? How did we find this thing? I mean, he was just, and he was kind of playing with me, and he was kind of laughing. And then he said in a more serious tone, but that's not the biggest miracle of all. And he says, I need to tell you something. I'm not a man of faith. What I'm about to describe to you, I can't explain. I can't even give words to what we're talking about here. And I've talked to all my staff. I've talked to other doctors. And what I'm about to tell you is unheard of. And here's what he told me. He said, Rod, 7 of those 8 tumors were stage 4 killer cancer. But one of those tumors didn't have any cancer in it. And the one that didn't have any cancer in it was the initial adrenal gland that we found. That I have a biopsy. I have a chunk of cancer. But when we went in and pulled it out of me, there was no cancer. So here's my question. Where did cancer go? Where did it go? I said, well, we had a lot of people praying. And I didn't have a lot of faith. And God and he said, I thought you were going to say that. I thought you were going to go that route. He says, I can't go there because I can't fathom what that looks like. But he says, to be quite honest, I have no other explanation. You see, God wants to work a plan. And He's doing things behind the scene, and He's that kind of guy that wants to do stuff in our life. And though we don't know what the end game ultimately will be, we know that we can trust Him, we can believe Him. You know, I wish I had time to give you all the scripture that God gave me over this period of time. I think there's 3 of them there that you see in your notes. One of them comes from from Isaiah 25:1. Lord, I will honor and praise your name, for you are my God. You do such wonderful things. You planned them long ago, and now you've accomplished them. That's what God is doing. How about this one from Psalm 73:26? My flesh and my heart may fail, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever. And then a verse you're probably very, very familiar with, Philippians chapter 4, that became such a comfort to me, was rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I say rejoice. Let your forbearing spirit be made known to all men, for the Lord is near. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God, and the peace of God. Now, I want to know the peace of God that surpasses all understanding, all comprehension, shall guard your hearts and your mind in Christ Jesus. You see, that's what God wants us to do. That giant we're facing, that enemy that looks so strong, that battle looks so big, he wants us to apply the weapons that look so weak. And he wants to say, I'm going to do something. I'm going to write a story. And I want to take whatever you're going through, whatever you're experiencing, and I want to give you new eyes and new perspective. You know, we know this from Scripture that God's ways aren't our ways, that God's thoughts aren't our thoughts. We can't maybe even fully comprehend. And that's the moment in time where God says, guess what? Now you get to trust me. Now you talk about your faith being so important. Now I get to see your faith lived out. Now we have a world that can watch whatever you're going through, whatever you're in the midst of, and we can turn this so that people will see not your greatness and not your savviness and not your manipulation skills and not these coincidences all colliding, but they'll actually get to see the glory of God manifested. And they'll get to see the impossible become possible. And they'll get to see faith, not fear, lived out. And they'll begin to see this attitude that we saw in the video that says, I will fight. I will fight. And it's not the fight that we're fighting with our own strength. It's the fight of saying, God, you're going to be God. And I'm going to let you be God in my life. I'm going to let you be in charge of my life. I shared this story last night with the men who were at our dinner. And I'll give you the short version of this. But back to Mike Sweeney. Mike is one of the most incredible guys I've ever had a chance to interact with. But he had one of those moments in his career where he was faced with, am I gonna run the show or am I going to let God run the show? And he was told by one of his coaches that he would never, ever, ever play for the Kansas City Royals. And he was at a point in his career where it was believable. It looked it was pretty grim. It looked like there was no way. He was a backup catcher who was not very good defensively and not hitting very well. And he was told by the coaches, you ain't going to play for the Royals. And in those days that Mike was playing, we were really, really bad. We would lose 100 games a year. There was no team worse than us in that stretch of period of time. And Mike heard is, if I can't play for the Royals, I can't play for anybody. I mean, that's what he heard. That's how he connected the dots. And he went into church and he prayed and he cried and he said, Lord, what's going on? The giant looked really big. And the battle looked huge and he didn't know what was going to happen here. And he had a chance. The Lord had a chance to talk to him and say, and he gave him a visual picture, and I showed this to the guys, a visual picture of this tandem bicycle. I actually got a copy of it on the back of my Bible here. And the Lord began to say, Mike, I have a relationship with you. We've been riding a tandem bicycle for a long time. But the problem is, Mike, you've been riding in the front seat. You've had me, God, sitting in the back seat. Can we switch seats? Can I be in charge of your life? And that verse from Proverbs 3 came to my mind. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he'll make your path straight. I mean, we say that verse, but now, are you going to really live it? Are you really going to trust? And so that day, in that church service, that night, he put God in the front seat. And all the Lord says, I want you, Mike, you go sit in the back seat and you just pedal as fast as you can. You fight. You fight. You do everything you can, but let me be in charge. Let me run your life. And Mike, if he was here today, he would tell you this. That was the day everything changed. Everything changed in his life. And a long story short, he became an all-star, a 5-time all-star. Now today in the Royals Hall of Fame. But now today is one of the special assistants to our GM, and has a voice and an God was working. He was doing something. But all it simply took was a simple trust and obey message. And so that's my question for you. Are you going to trust? Yeah, we don't know what the end game is. But here's what we do. We're on the winning team. We win. We win. And all he says, I want to be glorified through whatever situation we're in. So I'm going to ask Chris. I'm not sure what Chris is saying. Chris, if you'll come forward, will you close us up and just however you want to close the service today and make God be glorified.
Thank Rod for his message this morning. I want you to think about this. We say it often here that our all-knowing, all-powerful God is graciously at work to redeem all that He sovereignly allowed. So those of you that are fighting Parkinson's, ALS, cancer, loneliness, depression, addiction, you went through the list today. Could it be that you'd say, I have a new direction? What you need to do is say, God, completely be in charge, get in the front seat of this, stand by. I do need to trust and obey you in all things. I've been wrestling, I've been struggling, I haven't been able to let go. I have been overwhelmed, I am depressed, I am anxious, I am worried. But God, I need to move you and let you lead from the steering wheel and in the front seat. I'm just going to keep that trust. So as we prepare to pray and close, I'm going to ask us to do two things today. One, I'm going to ask, is there anyone here that needs to trust God with their salvation? Say, God, you are the Lord of my life. I've never acknowledged that. I've never received that. I've never trusted the grace of Christ alone to be my salvation. And if that's you, we want to give you an opportunity to respond. I'm not going to ask you to walk forward, but I am going to ask you to pray with me in just a moment. And then I want to ask you to join me in the back of the room, and I'm going to give you something today before you leave. Today's your salvation day. We don't want you to leave without walking and beginning a relationship with Jesus Christ. Second thing I'm going to do is, I wonder how many people in this room would say, man, I would covet someone praying for me. There's a powerful thing that all of us need physical touch daily. We know that from all our studies with babies growing up and developing in a healthy way because someone's hugged them and spoken to them and whispered in their ear. The reality is we need that all of our life in an appropriate manner. But I wonder if just physically someone saying, I'm praying for you today, would make all the difference in the world for you. Just know you're not in this battle alone. I'm sure somebody told David when he was walking on the field, and I do hope this goes your way, but I'm back here with you. I believe in the God you believe in. Sometimes that's all we need to fight stronger. And so I want to take a risk. I'm a risk taking kind of guy. If you're courageous enough just to say, man, I need prayer, would you raise your hand? Maybe you're fighting cancer. Maybe you're fighting challenges in this room. Maybe there's issues with Parkinson's. Want the church family to just look around. We've got folks that have lots going on in their life. Would some believers near them, if you're comfortable, would you just get close enough to them and touch them as I pray? Just get close by. You may know them, you may not. Don't do anything inappropriate, but just let them know they're not alone. If somebody's got their hand up, somebody just stand by them. Men to men, women to women. Somebody just stand with them. There's a few folks with their hand in the back. Some men just stand. And one of our guys in our audiovisual area raised his hand. Somebody might want to go back and stand. Heavenly Father, I just want to voice a prayer on behalf of all those who raised a hand. I'm sure there's some who didn't. They may be a guest today and they're wondering, is something weird going to happen? Oh, God, I return. I pray that you just so visit. However your Holy Spirit leads us, Father, I pray you bring healing. Pray you bring your presence and your comfort. I thank you, God, that oops is not in your vocabulary. And then before the beginning of time, God, you knew us when we were in our mother's womb, all the days of our life ordained in your book, because you're sovereign, you're good, you're all-knowing, you're all-powerful. And you desire, God, for your Spirit to go before us, behind us, above us, below us, and to graciously be at work to bring fullness of life to each of us. Jesus left heaven to earth to come to show us that, and he reminded us, I have come to give you life and give it to the full, to give it to the abundance. Oh, the enemy, he wants to kill, steal, and destroy. So in the name of Jesus, we rebuke the enemy in the midst of all of these individual life circumstances that friends and family are walking through. And in the name of Jesus, we claim your victory. We claim that we want to trust and obey you, Father. How powerful. The giant in front of us and each person here is not bigger than the God within us. Thank you for that reminder today, Father. And so I pray with each of my friends, with your people, in Jesus' name. Amen. Hey, as people are going back to their seats, let me just say this. Could it be that you'd say, today is my salvation day? I want to encourage you to do this. Would you be able to say as simple as ABC, I need to admit I need Christ. And B, I choose to believe. I believe God saved me. I've never told anyone. I've never made public that I admit my sin. I want to believe. And as simple as C, I commit. I will trust and commit to following him all the days of my life. Could that be you?